Run if you must. Hide if you can. Scream if you are able. But above all, if you are alone, don't let them catch you. The Slashers.
Welcome to The Slashers, a podcast where three film critics with wildly different tastes delve into the golden age of the slasher genre year by year, present awards along the way. I'm Jason from Binge Movies.
I'm Megan from Spoilerpiece Theatre.
And I'm Paul from The Countdown.
On this episode, our blood pool consists of 1981's The Burning, 1981's Happy Birthday to Me, 1981's The Prowler, and 1981's Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker. This is a part two of a two-part. 1981 was such a big year for slashers that we had to break it up in two. If you haven't listened to our first episode, it's the first episode where we got along, so it's pretty fun. Here we are with our part two for 1981. Let's kick it off with you, Megan. What are your general impressions of the year 1981? How does it stack up against the first part of 1981 and 1980?
Yes. So as far as like themes or things that noticing trends, I said this in the last episode, but just in case you haven't heard that or if you need a refresher, talked about how a lot of the themes in these films have to do with class and the divide between rich people, college educated people, and working class people. And I think that that's really interesting that we see that over and over again. I think for me, the second half of 1981 is not as strong as the first half of 1981 film-wise. Yeah.
That surprises me.
Oh.
In many ways.
Knew it.
But then I perhaps did not appreciate some of the first half of 1981 in the way that you did, Megan. So maybe that's where we can find that discrepancy or determine the difference. I thought this particular blood pool is definitely bloodier than those that have come before. And for that reason, I found a lot to enjoy in this particular half of the year. Certainly, it feels like the slasher genre now is getting into its groove. It's getting rid of some of the pretend elements that we saw a lot of in 1980 and a little of in the first half of this year. These films, with one probable exception, are straightforward slasher films, and there's no mixing in of other genres or diluting the blood, if I could put it that way.
Ooh,
it's just
I like
straightforward, gory goodness.
Gory goodness. Like that.
Well, if you've never listened to us before, Paul is not only Australian, he is also our resident gore hound.
That would be me.
This tickles your fancy. Megan is our resident film scholar, a term which she objects to, but I apply anyways. So she's coming out from that lens, and I'm the guy who likes garbage. I'm the guy that likes trash movies.
100%.
I'm the cult movie fan. I'm the drive-in movie fan. I'm the midnight movie fan. So it's always interesting. We have three radically different perspectives on movies, which makes this show so interesting. I am in agreement with Paul again.
All right.
I thought the second half of 1981. I think overall 1981 is the superior slasher year to 1980.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I think these are much better movies. Yeah. I think the second half is exceptionally strong. I like every movie on this list. This was so far, when we get to our award section, this was the hardest for me because there's great kills in a lot of these movies. There's so much to talk about, so much text, subtext. We got the whole gamut here of movies that have grown in appreciation over time, movies that were instant hits, movies that are completely and totally fucking obscure. We have it all. I think this is maybe the best representative sample of what the slashers were in the 80s so far. So let's get into it. Let's start with a film that came out May 8th, 1981. I'm talking about one of those movies that's grown in appreciation over time, The Burning.
What happened one summer 5 years ago is about to happen again, and again, and again. The Burning.
Man, this movie has a cast of a bunch of people you would see just a few short years later in McDonald's McDLT commercials. Jason Alexander, Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens is most famous for putting on brown face in Short Circuit, but now Succession, so we can forget about Short Circuit. Now Succession. He's in Succession. So we can forget about
the racism.
Don't ever forget about Hackers, though. Don't ever forget about Hackers. We get another shower scene. Every movie's got to have a shower scene.
Got it.
Especially one co-written by Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, fuck.
Well, yes. Sex-crazed 30-year-old teenagers. There is not, other than Fisher Stevens, who does look 15, everybody else, every other teenager in this movie is middle-aged. This gives us black gloves, scissors, in this case, shears.
Yep.
We get a traumatized killer who's seeking revenge with Cropsey. We see the trauma that was bestowed upon him. Megan, to your point, it's definitely a class issue.
Yep.
He's a poor, non-conventionally attractive, quote unquote weirdo. So the kids are going to pull a prank on him. The prank goes wrong.
Sadistic, they call him.
Yep. And the prank goes wrong, and he's horribly burned in a pretty good burn sequence.
Oh yeah.
Stuntman is doing that. Yeah. Yep. There's great fire stunts in here. We got famous people before they're famous. It's actually shot in the woods.
Yes. Remote location.
Actual camp.
Yep.
Remote location. Like we POV, heavy breathing. I think we finally did it. We got all of the
tropes.
The tropes distilled into a movie that has some pretty good kills. Megan, what did you think? Had you ever seen The Burning before? What do you think?
I hadn't seen The Burning before, and actually, I think The Burning is great, and I think because it utilizes the various tropes of the slasher genre so well, and the kills in particular are outstanding. They're extremely gory. They're memorable.
Yes.
They're interesting.
Yeah.
Creative, yes. Surprising, even though there's the obvious ominous sense of dread, like especially when they're in the raft scene. The raft scene is incredible, and when they're rowing up to the green canoe, and you know that the killer is there. You just know, but that sense of dread is just palpable, and then the killer just unleashes this bloody fury, and like fingers are chopped off, and people are stabbed and slashed, and it is just gruesome, but it's so much fun, and it's done incredibly well, and it's just really striking. And so I think this is a great film as far as a slasher genre, as far as a camp slasher, kind of the subgenre within the subgenre.
Yep.
I think this is really great. Had a lot of fun watching this.
When he comes up out of the canoe, it doesn't make logical sense. But when he comes up out of the canoe and he's got the shears over his head and we're panned up, we're looking up at him. That is straight out of a Bava film. That's straight out of Italian horror.
Absolutely.
And it plays so well. And here's what you can tell. The people who made this movie, the director, the cinematographer, they actually were trying to make a movie.
Yes.
It is a camp movie. It is a slasher movie. It is obviously coming in the wake of Friday the 13th and Halloween, all these other movies. But it is trying to do something different. There's some psychology to it. There's some sort of foreboding to it. It makes you wait for the kills, which I could see being a detriment. Maybe Paul won't like that. It makes you wait, but it, in my opinion, it earns the kills, because when they come, to your point, Megan, they're different. They're so interesting and creative. There's good fake outs in this movie. There's good the characters, even though they're all 30 years old, kind of seem like actual campers. Like it's like this is going to sound so stupid. I'm so used to camp movies and Friday the 13th movies where none of the kids like each other. And there's always the bitch and there's always the prude and there's always the slut. This movie disavows all of that. And they're just kids of various ages having a good time at camp, and they more or less get along with each other. And that makes it scarier because they're all innocents. They're all just, they didn't do this to him. They're just at camp. They're just like when they're on the way to the canoe trip, they're splashing each other. They're having a good time. Like there's no bullies. There's no.
There is definitely a bully. That blonde guy.
Well,
Sally's
he's
boyfriend.
a bully.
Yeah, but he's also mocked
That's
by
true.
the other members of the group, including Jason Alexander. They ride his ass for being a bully. And
that
that's
is refreshing that they band together with that kid. Yeah, no, totally, I agree.
So it's like, again, you put these movies in a certain context on their own, that's okay. But you're like, after watching so much of the stuff we've watched so far, it's like, my God, here we go. And again, this is a revisit for me. So, all right, Paul, is Negatron on board or what's going to happen here?
No,
Megan are on this page. Where are you at?
Negatron may well make an appearance for the end of this episode. Don't get me wrong, but not for this film.
I know which one.
The Burning is it's a classic for a reason. This is a cult classic. This is a film which failed. It just disappeared into the ether of slasher films, and over time, because of that raft scene, and that was the only reason I watched this movie when I was 14 or 15 years old, somewhere around that time when I was really getting into horror. Because even back in those days, pre-internet, I'd heard about the raft scene, and so I went and sorted it out and wasn't disappointed by the raft scene. I will agree, as much as I know what it's doing, a little bit like Toby Hooper's The Funhouse, see our episode, last episode for a discussion about that film, it does build up and it takes a lot of time, and it obviously the opening's great. Seeing what happens to Cropsy, like you said, Jason, and the stunt's fantastic. And then the reaction of the staff to seeing how burnt he is, but we don't see him, that's very good as well. I don't think we needed the next scene where he kills a prostitute. I'm not sure what that really achieved all that much, to be honest. We could have just gone straight into, he's
the
making
camp.
his way up. Yeah.
Yep.
But then we get introduced to the characters and they become discernible enough by the time they do start getting, half of them get killed en masse on that raft. And then we're left with a few of the other characters left. Surprisingly, I don't know if he's the annoying character, but he's certainly a bit out of place. Like, you don't go crawling into a shower space and checking out a woman who's having a shower and that'd be okay. But he's the closest we get to an annoying character in this film, and yet he gets all the way through to the end and actually lives. He's involved in the final battle along with the hero of the piece. If I have a complaint, it's that we have a lot of characters who don't die. That if we got to set up 15 of them, how come 7 of them sort of walk away, which is surprising to me.
I want more deaths.
It's almost like they ran out of budget for that, because Tom Savini was responsible for the prosthetic effects, the practical effects of this film, and does a stellar job building on his repertoire. He's been through Dawn of the Dead and now
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And maybe he worked on another one of the films that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
Maniac.
He worked on Maniac as well.
So he's at the top of his game here. There's a reason why he is revered as a god in this particular genre, and you can see it here on screen, bright and gory and bloody, with all the things that the two of you have said in terms of some very impressive kills. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised this didn't work, other than it must have disappeared into the vortex created by Friday the 13th, which is really a real shame, because this has the potential to be as good and probably better than the series of films we got from Friday the 13th.
Agreed.
Yeah. So are we discovering that that Savini, this is not a discovery, but is it an organic rediscovery for us that Savini is the secret sauce to this genre? That
I think so.
Because we've picked movies that are representative, that meet a certain criteria that scholars have defined, and that we're trying to get a wide spectrum. So we wasn't like, we're going to pick all the Savini movies, but every year when we have one or two, and we have a couple this round, a Savini movie pops up, we're like, that's the one that's the most creative. The kills are the best gags, interesting,
that look
from
amazing.
A completely different angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an intelligence, there's a stagecraft to how the kills are staged.
Yes.
It's not just the makeup effects, it's the way the camera moves and
Yep.
just everything. That's when he's involved, it's at a different level.
Absolutely.
Megan, you're going to say something.
I'm so glad that you said that, Jason, because I completely agree. And I mean, Savini is a master for a reason. But yes, it is. It's the fusion of the creativity of the kills along with the special effects. But I think what's really interesting to hear in The Burning is that I think it's interesting that the director is actually the one who's behind the shears because for most of it, because no one else could supposedly hold the shears the exact way he wanted, where the light would glint off of them, which is very giallo. And also we get some cuts to red, like we do in Night School too once, and that's very giallo. Like, so there are these touches, which I think are great. Paul, I also wanted to talk about what you mentioned about why does he kill the sex worker and like, what's the point of that scene? And, you know, if I didn't know what I know about Harvey Weinstein, you know, knowing that, I'm like, well, he's a fucking creep and he's gross. And so it's about just randomly objectifying women because he's so disgusting.
Yep.
I will say, though, if it was another filmmaker attached to this, you could make the argument that the killer is practicing his kills and starts off with someone that society deems as disposable, which is a sex worker. So
won't miss.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a great point.
I can buy that. Thank you.
No, that's a great point, Megan, because Cropsey isn't a killer. Right? Before he's disfigured. He may be a jerk. That may be their interpretation of him, because we don't really get. We hear stories about him, but we never see him be abusive to the kids or mean or whatever. So we don't know that. We don't. And I don't feel like the movie was really like, yeah, he deserved to be burned. I don't think that's the take the movie has. I think it's sort of ambiguous, and that whether he was a monster before he was a monster or not. So you're 100% right. Because to me that felt like almost like a holdover to what we saw in 80, and to a lesser extent, like you said, Paul, in the first part of 81, where there was a lot of Night Stalker, sort of the slasher genre. It was like a lot of like David Ramirez, like, you know, go out in the night and strangle women and slash them with knives. And that part of that random scene, because it's mostly at camp, felt like a holdover to that of like, but I think you're right, Megan. I think it might be a both and situation. I think that's supposed to be like he's practicing. He's escaped the hospital in a urban setting. He hits the streets. He knows he wants to get revenge, but he's not a killer. He practices his first kill on a quote unquote disposable person, won't be missed, and then makes his way to camp. That's very insightful. Because I was like, what the hell is this? We don't need this. But you're right. Yeah. What's interesting, like, go ahead, Paul. Sorry,
Jason. Am I right in saying that this Cropsey legend is a real thing? Not in this exact way that this film is, but there's a legend of someone named Cropsey who ran around in New York. So I'm sort of looking at this, and that's where they got the idea from, and then gave him a bit of a backstory.
There's a debate of whether the urban legend was first or this movie was first.
Okay. Interesting.
And there's an online debate because the urban legend existed, but the name Cropsey was first used in this movie before it was applied to that urban legend. So there's a debate that some people say, oh, the name was taken from this movie and applied to an upstate New York urban legend. So, but there's, who knows, because that's urban legends pre-internet. So we don't know where stuff came from. So I went down that rabbit hole.
It just blew my mind.
There was a quasi pseudo documentary about Cropsey that came out maybe like 20 years ago.
9, somewhere around there. Yep.
Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, oh, first time I saw The Burning, I was like, what influenced what? And it's a tenuous connection. It's not quite as defined. Glazer, who is the asshole, the bully, whatever. The fact that he's this machismo, bravado, bully, blah, 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 and then he is totally sexually inept and basically...
Shocker.
Not to poke fun. Yeah, not to poke fun at, whatever, people's sexual vitality. But the idea, like, that was, to me, that is a great subversion of the horror genre of her response is, that's it. After all that hype, after pressuring her, and she finally gives consent and is like, okay, I'll lose my virginity to you. And it's over in 2 seconds. And just when his character almost kind of starts to redeem himself a little bit, he flips back into an asshole and is murdered. So it was like, I like that aspect of it. I also like that this is the first, there is this sort of stereotype with these movies that is not exactly true. That like, oh, well, like the girls all have to either be slutty or prudish or whatever, because like in Friday the 13th, she drinks, she smokes, she has sex, she smokes weed, Alice. So she's not the prude. Also in Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie, smokes weed, is bookish, but she's not asexual, right? Like,
she doesn't have sex.
So that's
screen,
kind of
though.
a misnomer. I think that's like a misinterpret. Yes, that's true.
Just saying.
What I did like about this movie is that there is the Jason Alexander sexual whatever. I like that he gets booed down by the group a lot, like, boo. And when he's making his like innuendo comments. And I also like that the women join in with the crude comments sometimes, that they can be just as crude as the boys. I'm like, oh, these are, again, real fucking people, movie people, not real people, but there is an attempt to make these characters, regardless of gender, appear to be human beings, even though they're 50.
Jason Alexander was only 22 when this movie was shot, would you believe?
Jason Alexander is 55 years old.
He's always been 55 years old. That's right.
Yeah. But Paul, was there too much baseball, too much intergender baseball in this movie for you to?
Nope. I didn't mind that part. We have to set up the characters a little bit. I mean, I think we had too many scenes of guy pressuring girl to do something.
Thank you.
Again, we know who's behind this film. That's my biggest problem. Like, we got that storyline plays out like basically in 2 separate scenarios. We didn't need that. We could have completely cut 2 of those characters, or at least made them be something different if we had to have that scene. That, what's his name? Glazer was enough. We didn't need the other dude who dies on the raft, along with Fisher Stevens and co. So yeah.
Especially because Glazer gets it. Like, Glazer is punished for pressuring this girl,
and so is the other guy. But then both the girls die as well.
Correct.
Who are pressured into doing this, and so
correct.
If you read that, Megan, perhaps you would like to speak more to this, but it almost feels like, well, they should never have consented, otherwise they'd be alive. Well, they were bloody badgered to this, and then that girl gets skinny dipping in the watering hole. She actually goes, well, fuck this, enough of you asshole. And he's like,
I know, I love that.
And she gets it first.
Yeah.
So okay, am I reading into it? Am I eisegeting the text because of what we know about Weinstein? Or did this movie feel like the director and maybe some of the other people who actually did the core writing were almost like writing against? Like, the movie at times almost feels like it's at odds with each other, because we have empowered female characters. They're like, oh, fuck you. Get out of here. You're an asshole. I'm done with you. And then the Weinstein effect hits. It almost felt like he's notorious for that. He added his, and again, this is apocryphal, potentially. Did you guys get that sense of like, it felt like maybe Weinstein like kind of forced some of his weirdo sexual politics into a movie that was actually maybe a little bit more clever than him?
Yeah, I don't think you're reading
into
it too much at all. I mean, listen, I know we're retroactively looking at it, and we weren't there in the writer's room, but I mean, he did write this story along with 2 other writers. And like I've said before, you can't escape your own biases. They're going to seep into your work and your art. And so I do agree with you. I do think that there's a lot of contradictions in this film, which makes for interesting characters as a result and an interesting storylines.
Yeah.
But so because there are empowered women, like we do see young women who are vocal about what they want, and like, they're the character who's like, fuck this. You said you would respect my boundaries and you didn't. I'm out. But Paul, you're also absolutely right. These women, along with the men, are punished for having sex. And, that's the thing. It's not just the women characters who are punished having sex sometimes on screen, although sometimes it is. But a lot of times it's the men too. And so the teens are punished for having sex in general. And a lot of times, even if they're not punished for it, we get POV shots of the killer watching them, being stalkery and observing and seeing the, and a lot of times they're characters who are not sexually attractive conventionally, or they're outsiders. And so they're lusting after this kind of, heteronormativity an attraction that they don't have. So yeah, I think there's a
youth and beauty.
Yes, exactly. Traditional beauty. Yeah. It's also the objectification of women and women's bodies. Like there's a lot happening, but simultaneously you also have teen women who are exercising their own agency sexuality wise. So there's just a lot of contradictions, which I think makes for great conversations. But I think in this film in particular, it really works well, because it makes for interesting characters who do feel very real. But yes, to answer your question, I do think they were potentially writing against some creepy shit.
Yeah, it just feels that way. Yeah. And one of the complexities that I think is 100% intentional is our main male counselor, who is mostly a pretty good guy.
Todd, yeah.
When the kid's lurking in the shower, he reads that kid the riot act. He's like, what the hell are you doing? You can't be a creep. Like, you can't go in there. Like, he hammers this kid. He makes good decision after good decision after good decision. And he's like the hero of the picture. And in the very end, it's revealed he was one of the main antagonists responsible for Cropsy's creation. What a brilliant... I thought that was incredible. Even the reveal of him we already saw the flashback. But the reveal of him in the flashback and the pan over, and I think his name is Paul, maybe, right? And they're like, what do you think, Paul?
Todd?
And he's like, yeah, let's get him. And it's like, oh no, our hero is the villain.
Yep.
Yeah, arguably. Although, of course, it was played by a completely different actor. It was only 5 years of difference, so there was no way you could have picked that up in terms of watching the original. But anyway. So it's not really a mystery to be solved. They're cheating on you, but you're right. It is an interesting flex to the film where it's like, it's not as straightforward as you thought, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's a lot big, and like you said, there's a lot more going on in this movie than meets the eye.
Definitely.
I think that's why its estimation has grown over the years, because it's fun, it's creative, it's got good kills, and on top of all of that, it is complex. There are themes and ideas and things at odds with each other, sometimes intentional, maybe sometimes unintentional. So it's a much more... This is just a great watch. And every time I revisit it, I like it more. And I like it so much, I would commend to you. I don't know if the transfer is good. I think it's a semi-decent transfer. But Shout Factory, Scream Factory, which is actually now like Scream Studios, I think. Mm-hmm. They just changed their name. Actually just put out a 4K this year of The Burning.
Right.
So check that out.
Very nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of good transfers of this one out there, though. This is one that whenever it got rediscovered, somebody had preserved the actual or the original negatives and inner positives, because there's pretty decent transfers out there, even at 2K. So I'm interested to see if the 4K is good. All right. Anything else about The Burning, or should we move it along?
Move it along.
All right. If The Burning was inspired by Giallo, here comes one that was inspired by Argento. In my opinion, it is Happy Birthday to Me, which came out May 15th, 1981.
Someone's having a party for the top 10, the senior class snobs. Before they get to celebrate, 6 of them will die in the most bizarre ways you'll ever see.
Virginia, don't go away. Come over here, Virginia.
It is up to you to determine whether you wish to subject yourself to fear, terror, and shock. Because of the bizarre nature of this birthday party, pray you're not invited.
This is again, one of the majors is entering the fray with the slashers, Megan. We've had Paramount already dip their toe in the water. Now we have Columbia Pictures,
Yep.
who was partly responsible with My Bloody Valentine because it was the same producing partners. But I think Valentine was distributed under like a lesser label or whatever. This is Columbia Pictures on the box. This is the one this was finished first. They put My Bloody Valentine in theaters first to hit Valentine's Day, obviously.
Right.
This was often seen as a Friday the 13th ripoff. The script for this was actually written before Friday the 13th. And they were actually they started production around the same time.
Is that right? Huh.
Yep. The opening 6 minutes of this are the most giallo of anything that we've seen thus far. This movie is definitely all the Bavas, all the Argentos, all of the top tier Italian horror and crime directors. They're all here in this movie. To the point that we get straight razors, which is I think the first time a true blue straight razor has appeared. We get so much repressed trauma, which is a staple of Italian horror. Brain stuff, ghosts in the machine, all this sort of stuff. This movie this is my last bit of history, and then Paul, I'll kick it over to you. This movie is famous to some extent because it was originally a ghost story. Originally, the premise of the movie was the spirit of the mother had inhabited the daughter. So every time the daughter blacked out, she was possessed. And that this experimental brain surgery had allowed her to be possessed by the spirit of her dead mother.
Okay.
Some of it was shot, not all of it was shot, and Columbia cut all of it out of the movie because they were trying to conform this into a more standard slasher film.
Right.
The result is the ending makes no goddamn sense.
Oh,
I think it's a great ending.
Thank God you said that. I'm so pleased.
But it makes no sense.
No, because not at all.
Because it's not the direction the rest of the movie was going. The rest of the movie is a psychological. Is she split personality?
Yes.
Is she? And then the reveal was going to be she's fucking possessed. It's been supernatural the whole time, which makes all the sense. The movie would make so much more sense. So Paul,
as opposed to a scene where because did you know, Megan and Jason, that if you are chloroformed, you forget and have no memory at all of being chloroformed in the minutes leading up to said chloroforming. This is a known side effect of being chloroformed. So no one alive has ever known whether they've been chloroformed or not. You may have been. I may have been. But we just don't remember it.
You may be chloroformed right now.
That's what this film posits. And the only way this film works is if you believe someone will not remember having been chloroformed at any point the 6 times that they are chloroformed in this particular film. Anyway, look, there are some really good moments in this film, and I think it's well shot. It looks like it's a good looking film. There's some Dutch angles in there. There's a lot more going on, and the budget's relatively high compared to most of the films that we have watched this point in time. It's sort of $3.5 million, around $1980. That's a fair whack for a horror film. Does it work overall? Look, you know what I really hate? Don't tell me 6 people die. Don't tell me on the box that 6 of these characters are going to die and then proceed to conform to that. That is so stupid. Like, so
the entire market,
the
entire market of the movie, they built it around the kebab kill. And in fact, one of the taglines was, "You'll never eat shish kebab again."
Yeah.
But the way the movie operates is it's a total fucking surprise. Now, does it make sense that they're having fireside kebabs after the prom? Not really. But the skewer portion comes out of fucking nowhere, and it would have been so much better if they didn't put that on the box.
Yes. And also, just let it be a slasher film. Don't market it around 6 of these people are going to die. Come for 6 of the strangest deaths you'll ever see. That's just daft. Almost as daft as the fact that 10 characters come together because they're the top 10 students at a school, and even though they have nothing in common except one very important defining characteristic, not their intelligence, not that they're super smarter than everyone else at this college, university, whatever it is.
That's high school.
As a high school, is it? Even bloody.
Yes.
How are they going drinking at a bar and everyone's just turning a blind eye then?
Because they're rich.
It definitely feels like it should be said at college, but
because you're right, because she's turning 18.
Rich,
They make the point of saying that she's 18.
It's because they're rich. That's
I
why
don't
they
know
look away.
when did the drinking Yeah,
Right.
but also, when did the drinking age change? In the 70s, Megan, in the States?
Yeah,
Because it used to be 18.
18 for a bit.
It's 18 here. So we never changed it. We never got that memo.
So-
It's still on its way via hand delivery.
So, in fairness, I don't know the exact date. This may have been conceived before or shot even before the date change. I just don't know.
But you were
it used to
complaining
be
about how old they were in The Burning. Tell you what, Matt Frew was in this movie, and he looks like he's about 47 at the time of
He
filming
does.
here, let alone some of the other characters. Anyway, the defining thing that brings them all together is their one common personality trait. They're all horny. Tell me who is with who in this movie. They are handing each other around left, right, and center like no one's business, and no one seems to mind. And this one's having a lover's spat with this one. And that guy over there now, he stands in the middle. And later on, he's gone home having shish kebabs. I couldn't keep a track of who was fucking whom.
But see,
okay.
I think that's by intent, because I think, to Megan's point, I think this movie hates wealthy people. And the perspective of this movie is, look at these rich fucking pricks. Look at these rich fucking high school kids with their rich fucking parents. They're all entitled. They're all assholes. And you're going to watch every one of these 6 fucking entitled pricks die and suffer. And ultimately,
except the 3 that just disappear from the narrative, because that makes perfect sense. Because why is there top 10? One girl standing in horror, holding a card or something in the rain. You never see her again. Well, that was really scary. And then the asshole guy who takes her up into the bell tower, he just literally disappears from the narrative because he wasn't invited to her birthday in the first place, according to the film. So stupid. This film is
and the
dumb.
guy, and then he goes missing, and then they find him, and then he really wasn't missing. Then
Yeah. Oh, and he buried the scarf.
killed.
Why did he bury the scarf? No one knows. He just fucking did it.
But here's the thing: how much Italian horror have you watched, Paul? I don't think you've watched as much of it as I have.
I haven't watched as much as you, as probably the two of you. I've seen enough to know that it often doesn't make much sense either.
Yeah. So that's every Italian horror movie, even the great ones. What the fuck did that happen?
Who knows?
Dario Argento. There's not one of his films that makes logical sense. Not one.
Things happen because they happen, and they're visually interesting, and they're provocative. It's about creating emotion from scene to scene. It's not about cohesion. And this movie is desperately
doesn't fit with my logical analytical brain.
No. This movie is desperately trying to be an Italian horror film.
It's also about 15 minutes too long.
Oh my God,
Some of these scenes drag for an eternity.
I will agree with that. We have to watch her wake up groggily 75 times.
Well, that's what happens after the first often.
Yeah, after but it's like we have to watch it in real time. And she opens her eyes, and then it's like, okay, after the first time, we get what's happening. I think this is somebody wanted to make an Italian horror movie on a studio budget. The studio gave them a bunch of money, then hedged their bets and went, the slasher thing's a craze. We want this to be more in line with a slasher movie. So we're going to market it around the kills. We're going to edit this thing to shit, and we're going to tack on this bizarre ending that I love, by the way. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes Mission Impossible seem sensible.
But it's really set up because they have a high school kid who can make Mission Impossible style masks. He can make it's set up in the logic of the movie. The movie has its own internal logic, Paul. I would be with you if it wasn't set up. And it's just like, well, where the fuck did this high school girl get a Mission Impossible level mask?
I know where she got the mask. I'm still wondering how it maps onto her face so perfectly that she emulates the other girl so wonderfully well.
But also,
got a computer doing it.
Okay, now hang on now. Also, the movie is kind of clever, and this is an Italian horror thing. They do, when they're in shots next to each other, they don't look dissimilar. There is a similarity in the way that they look. And I think the movie plays around with that. That's like a duality, like at certain times you're just sort of like, wait a minute, which one's which? And I think it's doing that on purpose, not to the level that it needs to. There's definitely like a little persona going on here a little bit. Megan, you've yet to fully chime in.
Yes.
You agree with me? You agree with Paul?
Well, I mean,
or neither.
No, I agree with both of you. I mean, this film is completely illogical. And if you try to pick it apart that way, it just falls apart and reads as stupid. Yeah. But there is something to be said for the themes that it's dealing with of trauma and memory loss and duality. All of that that I think is potentially interesting. And I really like the Giallo touches. And you're 100% right, Jason. In Giallo, things just happen, and who cares? And who cares about character motivation? And who cares about continuity and cohesion? You know, it's just this shot is striking and this kill is happening, and that's just that. But the problem is that it feels very much like an imitation of Giallo. It doesn't feel striking enough or innovative enough or unique enough to stand on its own. And I agree with you, Paul, about the marketing. Like, why have the 6 people? That's absurd. You know, like there's not enough suspense. There's not enough mystery here. I will say, though, I really wish they had gone with the original ending of Ginny being the killer. I think that would have been fantastic. I also, when you first see Bernadette wearing the Mission Impossible mask of Ginny's face, what I thought initially was like, oh shit, a twin sister. And I think that would have been would have been more interesting than what we get. And instead it's like, oh no, instead Bernadette is slut shaming Ginny for her mother. And I'm like, this is just absurd. So yeah, I think there's some interesting things happening. Jason, you're 100% right. This movie hates rich people. Like, it spelled out explicitly about how rich people are terrible and awful. I think this film has some interesting things going on, like the shish kebab through the throat. But again, you know it's coming. And yeah, it's a good kill. But I wish I had been more surprised by it rather than knowing it was coming.
Yes.
But yeah, I do like the exploration of trauma and memory and how that impacts. And I also really love seeing Glenn Ford here. Glenn Ford is such a stellar actor. It's really nice to see him in a horror film. So yeah, so I really liked that as well.
Yeah. So, can I leap off the Glenn Ford character? I'm not saying it's a bad role, bad performance. He's fine in the role. But I tell you what, psychiatrists in your country must have gotten away with murder in the 80s. How this guy is operating the way that he is with a 17-year-old girl is beyond disturbing. How he was not banned from the APA immediately upon, obviously he meets his fate in this film, and so he bloody well should. Who rocks around to a 17-year-old girl's house and changes her and does all this shit? Who hugs their patients and accepts an invite to her birthday? What the fuck are you doing? Obviously, Hollywood had and often has, let's be honest, no idea how to write mental health professionals because they just do the wildest fucking things.
Very true. Very true. There's a big problem with how to depict people.
I'm here for
There's a big problem with depicting people with mental illness, and often it comes off as ableist. And on the flip side, I think you're so right, Paul, that Hollywood, especially at that time, but even still today, a lot of times doesn't get therapy correct and doesn't get mental health care workers correct. So
any concept at all. Yeah.
I hate to disagree, guys, but if Hollywood has taught me anything, is that mentally ill people are physically deformed. Most of them carry hatchets and wear burlap sacks over their head or motorcycle helmets.
And are going to murder you.
Indigenous culture because they're crazy. Yeah, and they're going to leer at you. And they're going to put a pickaxe in your brain. Stay away from the mentally ill. They're dangerous. And psychologists and psychiatrists are equally as dangerous. In fairness,
the use of Jason from Binge Movies does not represent the rest of the Slashers podcast.
Psychiatry is dangerous. They're going to put experimental shark brain cells in your head, and your mom's going to possess you. The movie is a ghost story that got revised into a slasher. And I think that's its biggest failing. However, the estranged, guilty father. This is where you get an Italian ending. Coming home to the cottage, and all the rich assholes who refused to come to her birthday because her mom was seen as underclass and poor and married for wealth and wasn't nouveau riche, was not born rich. And so they excluded her from the group, and they're all dead and rotting around that fucking table. Is so disturbing, and the idea that the entire thing is either I kill you or I let you go down for the murders. If you manage to kill me, everybody's gonna blame you. And the cop comes in, and her dad's dead, and the villain's dead. what have you done? Happy birthday to me. That is it doesn't make sense to get there, but the final reveal is a great ending.
Mm-hmm.
They're all their mutilated bodies around the table. It is really dark and stormy night, flashes of lightning painting around the table. It's creepy. I loved it.
It is a really good ending
Right up until the Mission Impossible mark.
Yeah, it is a really good ending in that way. And I also love that we see that type of ending again in Karan Kusama's Jennifer's Body. Like you get the same thing with with Needy. And she's arrested. Anyway, I love Jennifer's Body. Great. But similar ending.
Okay, so we're sort of, Megan's in the middle. I'm in favor of happy birthday to me. Paul, not so much. In fairness, though, Friday the 13th also told you how many people were going to die in there. It's marketing.
Me
I
too.
missed that. Didn't see it.
And not only did it tell you who was going to die or how many, it told you how they're going to die. 1 is going to get a hatchet.
Oh,
to the
that's
head.
right.
2 is going to get a 3 is going to get a 4 is going to get a. Yeah, they spoiled all of it.
Very true.
So,
Glad I didn't
okay.
see that.
Let's move on to one of the most, in my opinion, underrated slashers of all time. The Prowler.
It was 1945, the night of the graduation dance. The war overseas had just ended. The terror at home
Roy.
was about to begin.
Roy?
Come on, kid. Don't play hard to get. What about New Year's Eve?
Well, that was different. I couldn't help myself.
The Prowler. If he wants you, he'll get you.
Which was released November 6th, 1981. We get more war trauma here. Megan, had you seen The Prowler? What do you think of this movie?
I had not seen The Prowler, and I this should not come as a shock to anyone. I love when horror films are digging into these kinds of issues. I love that we're getting to see PTSD and trauma. Love that. This was okay. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. Like I didn't dislike this. I didn't think it was amazing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I'm very intrigued what Paul thinks, and I'm very intrigued as to why you love it so much, Jason, because I know it is very much, like I've heard other people talk about how it's a very underrated slasher. But yeah, I liked it. There's a lot of creepiness happening, a lot of stalkeriness and unnerving atmosphere, but yeah, it was okay.
This is My Bloody Valentine revisited. Will Paul complete the loop or will he disagree with me? What?
When I had the privilege, by the time this comes out a few months ago, of guesting on Screen Run with the Lady One and Chris Scalzo, Chris was saying this was one of his favorite slasher films as well, Jason.
Ooh.
Very underseen, very underrated. So I'd never seen it before. And I put it on, not expecting much. I'd seen that cover at the video store. This is one of those, I remember this to this day, one of these videos that was there that was R-rated and I couldn't watch it. And by the time I was old enough to watch it, I was probably not going to that part, those video stores sort of anymore. And so I just missed me. I don't know why I missed it. And because I put this one on not expecting much, apart from Chris's recommendation, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I think
yes!
Like you said, Jason, it's probably very much My Bloody Valentine again. I think a lot of times it gets from the reviews I've read now since having seen The Prowler. It seems like these two are often sort of lumped together because there is a very similar vibe to them, different reasons, but still the trauma, as you said, Megan, the PTSD element that's driving the killer here. But yeah, I think the set pieces, the set kills in this film are sensational because who's doing them again? I have to assume it's Tom Savini.
It is Tom Savini.
100% Tom Savini.
Tom Savini.
There are, I'm spoiling a little bit for the blood pool, but my favorite kill of the week comes from this film. And there are some astounding sequences in this movie in terms of the gore effects. The mystery, the final girl in the film is entertaining. I think she's a great.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm spoiling my list here. So she's Pam. Is it Pam?
Yeah,
yes,
I think so.
It is
Pam. Excellent. Vicky Dawson as Pam is very good in this one. I don't know how Lawrence Cheney gets a credit in this film because he's in it for like 2 scenes barely. He don't even know if he says a word in the entire film. But I like the way this is all put together. I like the reveal at the end because it's not quite. It could be anyone, but it is there. The character's introduced. The character disappears. The character comes back 100%. Again. And, oh, bam! Okay, here we are, and that explains why he didn't kill the deputy when he had the chance to do so. He's offing the kids. He's not aiming after his deputy, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this film's really good and bizarrely underseen given the quality of it. Directed by the guy who directed, I believe, Friday the 13th Part 4, which was
Joseph Zito.
Too. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's the craziest thing because most people, or I should say most, a lot of people would say either 4 or 6 are the best Friday films. 4 is obviously the one where we are introduced to Tommy Jarvis for the first time when it's Corey Feldman and the great, a lot of people really like that movie. I'm a 6 fan. I prefer Zombie Jason. By the way, let me go back a little bit. Cropsey is better than non-zombie Jason. That's my controversial take. I would take Cropsey over non-zombie Jason Voorhees any day.
Ooh, wow.
I think he's scarier. The Prowler here. Where is it going? What was I saying? Oh, what were you saying? Oh, no. Yeah, I think it's weird that Joseph Zito, who directed one of the most popular slashers of all time, also directed another slasher before he did that one.
And
with Savini.
Yeah.
And
it rarely gets talked about.
It barely gets talked about. The only time it gets talked about is, hey, this is a pretty good movie. Nobody ever talks about it. It hasn't completely caught on. And that's obviously not true within the deep trenches of the horror fandom, but I'm just saying more casual horror watchers and film critics and film reviewers and podcasters, it hasn't got its due. It still hasn't got its due. I love that this movie's like, hey, you've seen slasher movies do the thing from Psycho 50 million times. So we're going to do it, and you're going to think it's going to be like Psycho, and instead it's going to be a pitchfork through the glass in like everything Hitchcock didn't do. He didn't show you nipples. He didn't show you blood. He didn't show you penetration. We're going to do it all because we're not just going to mimic fucking Alfred Hitchcock. We're going to do it. And there's not going to be no subversion. It isn't going to be Kid Brother. It's this guy's going to kill this woman brutally. And I think that's a great, the camera in the shower as the glass shatters towards it and the pitchfork comes towards the camera with a perfect match cut to her getting pinned against the wall. The kills are scary. The people suffer. They're creative. The motivation makes sense. The opening, the Dear John letter, the derangement, the eye roll, the knife in the head with the eye roll is disturbing as fuck.
The blood gushing down over the gloved hands.
The camera pans around. It doesn't. You're not just you see it from the angle, and it pans around. It's like we're not looking away from this. And he's squirming, and it's like I got getting goosebumps. Like it's such a good kill. We get a completely ludicrous, deeply offensive, but I think sincerely trying to be nice, like inclusive. Otto, the Hodor of this community. Yeah, who is like the slow-witted hillbilly guy who isn't a creep, isn't a weirdo. He's a fucking hero.
He's almost the hero. He's for a minute.
Yeah.
A hot minute.
And then there's an unintentionally comedic moment because then like he comes in as the hero and then there's this extended scene and the love theme for the Prowler kicks up and they're looking back and forth at each other really in a protracted way with goo eyes. And I thought that was so funny. And then bam, he springs up and then boom, blows it. Oh, it's crazy. And I don't want to spoil my the awards at the end of this either, but there's an incredible moment at the end of this movie. I have to shout out João Fernandes, who was a Brazilian cinematographer who shot this movie. Right. This movie is the cinematography is so energetic. The bullshit term is athletic, but it is. This movie has life to it. I love that it kind of has European Gothic horror vibes, especially before we get into a lot of, just creeping, foggy, eerie, old town. The sensibilities just really come together here. So I have nothing but high praise for The Prowler. The kills are spot on. They're creative. They're gory. Cinematography is incredible. Megan, to me, this is what you and Paul were trying to beat it in my head last episode, which is like, I want good cinematography. Yes. I want good acting. I think we get it all with The Prowler.
Yeah. No, the set location alone is incredible, along with the cinematography. Yeah. No, I don't disagree either. I think I need to watch this again, though.
Like it.
But I did like it. It's not like I didn't.
Adding to the short list of films to keep watching.
I just think I need to watch it again.
Do you know one of the things I appreciated is there's so much creativity, but when it gets to the kills, once we're actually into the penetration, the slashing, it's so blunt. Like the filmmaking just goes blunt. And then normally that would be a bad thing, but I don't think it is here, because I think that's the point. This is not a movie that is necessarily trying to thrill you. Because sometimes with Savini, especially in the Friday series, it's like you're watching gags. It's like you're watching magic.
Yes.
Like how creative, like we're going to saw the person in half. Like how creative can you make the gag? And that's what you were really going to watch those movies for, is like, what's Jason? And it eventually got to the point of being humorous, where you're laughing at him, bashing somebody's head into the wall of an RV, and you see the face print, and it almost becomes comedy at that point. There's nothing funny about the kills in this movie.
No, agreed.
This is a
100%.
fucked up person doing fucked up things to innocent people who have nothing to do with his trauma. He's just taking out unresolved issues on innocents and misusing his authority and all this other sort of stuff. He's just a deranged person. And so when we watch them die, it's not thrilling, it's horrifying. Not scary, but horrifying. Right. Because you're watching them, again, in the shower. We're holding on her, fighting for her life with a pitchfork in the gut, with a knife in the head. We're watching him spasm for a long time, and the brutality of it is just, I would say this is an actual, this is good filmmaking, even though it's a lower budgeted, less seen genre picture. So
I found it initially very off-putting, the pitchfork in the stomach and the woman's naked, and I'm like, oh, here we go, very objectifying. And the kills are really brutal, and you really are forced to sit with them. But I think what's really fascinating is that the killer is a veteran, and what that kind of statement says about the dehumanization of war and how trauma can dehumanize you and feel, desensitized to violence and to brutality. And I think that there's some really fascinating things that are happening here.
I agree. And I think the movie is leaning into those things. I don't think it's just using him being a veteran as a smokescreen for brutality.
Right.
I think that's the reason why I like it, why it feels like filmmaking, where it's like, it's thematic. Yes. It's not just like, haha, look at these teenagers die. It's like, these people are dying horrible deaths for things they didn't commit. And this guy's trained to murder in this way by being a soldier. And it has changed this man in such a way that even decades later, he is a faceless, murderous killing machine.
Yes.
And really, I mean, there's no good explanation for what he's doing. There's logic to it, but there's no.
He's been waiting. Was it 30 years in the film or 35 years, something along those lines, to continue once they reopen and have this party thing? He's like, all right, that's it. I'll pick up where I left off. I got my revenge, but he's been apparently living a relatively normal. We assume living a normal life in the 35 years intervening in between, which is very disturbing. He can just turn it on and turn it off like that.
That's what's creepy. Yes.
And then the film runs with that theme of trauma as well, because it does give you that final, you could say it's just a final jump scare, but it's showing that Pam, she's now traumatized. And not to say that she's going to become a murderer herself or anything like that, but it pauses to say, Yeah, she lived, and so did her boyfriend, the deputy. But it's not like everything's hunky dory here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
This is the kind of shit that's meant to fuck you up or will fuck you up for life. And poor Pam is probably going to be the recipient of that.
Which Zito revisits with Tommy Jarvis. He uses the same ending.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
so glad you mentioned that, Paul, because in current cinema, there's such a resurgence or infusion of trauma and PTSD in films and in TV series. And a lot of times it doesn't feel that a lot of filmmakers get it right, because it's almost like they're like, oh, people are talking about trauma, so we should have trauma, or it's a good backstory for a character, but they don't actually understand it. And I feel like this is very much saying, like, no, once something's done, it doesn't just mean it's done. It haunts you. It stays with you. It changes
Bingo.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy was traumatized by war, and in the midst of being traumatized, or before, whatever the timeline is, had his heart broken, was made psychologically vulnerable through heartbreak, went into a horrific situation, and came home and went berserk, and then, was able to seemingly maintain until he was triggered again. And it's like, he's through it, but he's not done with it.
Right.
It's not like, okay, well, now that I killed all those people 50 years ago, I'm fine, or whatever. And then the same thing with the next generation. It gets passed down. He's now traumatized. He's now become he was made into a monster. And now he has potentially made monsters, or a monster. So yeah, very interesting. It's some of these movies have a lot more on their mind than their reputation would make you
Exactly.
believe.
Yeah, just as a simple slasher film.
Now there's another movie, Paul. As a clinician, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. It has a lot on its mind, and most of it is thanks to Oedipus Rex, Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker, aka Night Warning. Neither one of those names make any sense.
No.
A very, very barely seen film, even in 1981. It came out November 20th, 1981.
A chilling tale of a young boy and girl, innocent victims, now targets of a frenzied obsession with murder. See the award-winning Night Warning.
I would like to start this off because I know this is where shit is going to go sideways. I think Susan Tyrrell gives one of the most insane performances in film history, and I am here for it. I am living for it. Her performance is in the realm of David Lynch, Twin Peaks, or otherwise. It is disturbing. It is creepy. It is hilarious at times. It is funny the way she can flip on a dime. The shit talk she gives to Margie, the neighbor lady. There is actual, as bizarre as this movie is, there is some humor to it. There's the dialogue, the back and forth, where the bigoted cop is like, are you talking to me, lady? And Margie goes, yes, because she's giving him shit. And he goes, don't. And I laughed. The movie is gained a reputation, a positive reputation, because this is one of the first films in the 80s that had any positive depiction of a homosexual character. With Coach Tom Landers, who was just presented as a good person whose sexuality was incidental. And there's a really good review on Letterboxd by a user by the name of Sally Jane Black.
Oh, I love Sally Jane Black. Sally Jane Black is great.
Tell us who she is.
No, I was just going to say Sally Jane Black is a great film critic and is a trans film critic. And so it's no surprise that she has a great analysis or discussion about the gay character here. So yeah, no, Sally Jane Black is great.
Nice.
Let me read a couple of paragraphs, and then I'll kick it over to you guys. And if you want to find her on Letterboxd. But I thought this really crystallized to me my interpretation of the film as well. Match my notes. That's why I'm quoting it. There are queer films that reify queer identity, films that celebrate it, films that honor it, films that depict it, and films that examine it. There are films that denigrate it, exploit it, deride it, misrepresent it, or use it simply as a superficial sheen over straight stories. And then there are films that don't so much depict queerness as they depict homophobia. I don't mean they are homophobic films. I mean they focus more on the homophobia than the identity. humanity or reality of queer people. And usually these films end up being coarse, gay misery films or tired cliches. But then there is Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker. You could easily argue that this is a film that exploits homophobia. It is a film that denigrates it. It derides it. It uses it as a superficial sheen over straight stories, not queer identity, not queerness, not homosexuality, but homophobia. It takes an ostensibly straight protagonist and his violent, spoilers, incestuous mother and pits them against a homophobic detective. His homophobia is vocal, forthright, vicious, full of every stereotype, malicious, misunderstanding, and outright lie told about queer people, and is directed at a straight kid. This is also directed at an adult queer couple, one of whom is dead and the other of whom is forced to resign over it. Of course, important as both parts of the story and as part of the themes presented are, the majority of the focus is on how the situation influences our homophobic pig to harass, target, and sometimes even legitimately investigate our foolish protagonist. And it goes on from there, and she does an excellent job reviewing this film. I think, and this is my final thought, I'll kick it over to you, Megan. I'll have more thoughts. This is my final thought in a second. The movie does not end with the death of the killer. The movie ends with the death of the real monster, which is Carlson. She gets the last fright, and then the movie continues on. And the one who gets the absolute horrific death is the protagonist, in this case, final girl, who is a male, kills the real monster, which is the homophobic cop, Carlson, played by Bo Svensson. So, that is my take on the movie. Is I think the first read of it is this is a homophobic film. I don't think so. I think this is a anti-homophobic film, actually. The monster is the homophobe. Now, what it says about moms, we can unpack.
Yeah. What it has to say about psychology, moms, that's debatable. But yes, no, I actually, I love that you read Sally Jane Black's review because I've been following her for a really long time and she's great. And I completely agree. Horror has such a long queer history. There have been so many horror writers in the 1800s and the 1900s who were queer. There have been so many queer filmmakers. There have been so many writers who have put queer themes and coded queer characters throughout. The Shudder series Queer for Fear is a really fantastic docuseries that explores that. But queer people we have as a collective and as horror fans been identifying with horror films for such a long time because the monster in horror films is often the outsider, the misunderstood person who's ostracized by society. And to see a film that has a gay character just living his life, being just a regular person is groundbreaking and revolutionary, even though it arguably shouldn't be. And then the fact that you are so right, Jason, that the real monster, the real culprit is homophobia, is really refreshing and really great to see. It is very strange that it's coexisting simultaneously with the incestuous mother, which I think could be a problem, thematically. But as far as what it has to say about homophobia and how dangerous it is and how damaging and how destructive and just gross it is, I really applaud this film for what it's doing in that regard. And it was really refreshing to see it so explicit.
Megan, what somebody made the point, and I don't know if it was further in her review or another commentary that I saw, but someone made the point that Susan Terrell, as she's playing Aunt Cheryl before it's revealed that she's the mom, is playing the role of the stereotypical quote unquote sissifying mother. And so it's playing against the fear of, well, obviously this kid must be gay, which is what the bigot thinks, because he's being infantilized and quote unquote sissified by this woman. And so that's why so it's like, it's using that old trope of like, well, if your mother dotes on you too much, you'll end up being gay.
Yeah.
Which clearly is not the case with this kid. He's clearly a heterosexual kid who just, it's just like, it's all this paranoia around his sexuality.
Right.
Not anything he's even displaying or even talking about. It's not really an issue for him. It's issue for everybody else. And I think what tips the movie's hand, and in a good way, is when again, I love Susan Terrell in this movie. Her insane delivery of homosexuals are very sick people. And as she is drugging her nephew / son's milk, mother's milk, that's the poison. Chloroforming his fucking milk to keep him infantilized. So she can either fuck him or murder him. And she's talking about how sick Coach Tom is, who is the most upstanding character in this movie. He's just a gentle, loving coach who's taking a shine to this kid because it's his star player on the basketball team. He wants him to go to college. That's it. And he says as much. He's like, I just want the kid to go to college. We got close to him because I developed him as a player, which if he was a straight character, nobody would think anything about. That's the coach. That's the coach's job. Player. Yeah, he's doing his job. And guess what? When that kid gets in trouble, who does he call? He calls his coach. And who's there for him? Even in the wake of his own tragedy, he's still there for this kid. He wants to exonerate him of the murder. And when all shit goes haywire with his aunt, who's there? Cut to, okay, we're going to figure out what to do here. You're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you. I thought, again, in 1981, in a low-budget slasher movie, this thing is progressive off the fucking charts. I don't think Hollywood would depict a story like this.
No.
Then you put the camp. You put the camp of Susan Terrell on top of it. Wow. I mean, she's giving a drag performance.
Oh, yeah.
And the inspiration for this movie, the initial inspiration for this movie was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane,
which I mean is incredible.
They wanted to modernize that character and put her in this sort of slasher genre, and that's what she's going for. That was the spark for this movie. And so, okay, I've praised it. Megan has given it some praise for its representation.
Did you like it, Megan? I couldn't sort of tell.
That's what I was going to say. I realized I didn't share if I liked it. Yeah. So speaking about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, that makes so much sense. I mean, Susan Terrell is giving a great performance. It's wildly unhinged and very much camping it up. I mean, I have to say though, she's no Bette Davis and she's no Joan Crawford though. I mean, they're the masters of acting, and she is not on that level, but she is giving a really captivating, fascinating performance. And I really love everything you said, Jason, about the coach. And it's really nice that the coach very much provides a father figure for Billy that he doesn't have. And it's also really great to see that the father figure is a gay character. And again, it is very progressive and very much, ahead of the time.
And a masculine gay character.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it kind of,
he's not feminized.
No.
He's a basketball coach. He's just a man.
I mean, this is
a traditional
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the first time that there's been a masculine gay character. I mean, there's also The Boys in the Band, which is a seminal gay play that was televised in the 70s, I believe, and with very masculine gay characters. But you don't see it so often at this time in mainstream films, and you don't see it so often in horror films. So to see that is really, really great. I did like this. I think, the incestuous part is a little hard to swallow just because it's so heavy-handed. It's so just repetitive and in your face. But I think her performance is great. I think Billy is a really interesting character. I think the coach is a really fascinating character, and it's great to see him. I think we haven't talked about Julia Duffy as the girlfriend, and she's not an actor I usually like, but I think she's actually quite good here. And I like that when the detective is being so gross and he's like, well, have you guys had sex? Have you made it? And she's like, I'm not telling you that. And I love that. And again, stand your ground. And I love that she does that.
None of your business.
Exactly. Yeah. So so there's a lot of things here that I think are really interesting. And I did like this. The one thing I will say is that, and I wonder if Paul, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because I'm curious if this is your take on the film, but there's not a lot of kills, and it's not really a traditional slasher film until the very end. So it is kind of interesting that way, that we don't get a lot of kills until she goes full on kill city, but
thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, I did like this.
Megan, that when she does kill, it almost goes into John Waters territory. Now, obviously, Susan Terrell is famous for being in Crybaby. I think Crybaby, yeah. But yeah, when she's like, "Oh, I have another round steak in the refrigerator. Can you get it for me? You're so cute." And then just like clobbers to the back of the head. It was like Serial Mom.
Yeah.
It was like Sybil Shepherd and Serial. Sybil Shepherd? No.
Kathleen.
No, it's
Kathleen Turner.
Yeah.
Kathleen Turner. And yeah, Serial Mom. Yeah, this is a campy movie.
Very
and it's not
much.
intending to be. I do feel like Susan Terrell knows she's being campy, but I don't feel anybody else does.
She knows.
Yeah, the rest of it's super straight. And I could maybe make the argument. I think Bo Svensson knows he's really playing it up. And he's a famous B movie character actor. So I think he knows what he's doing. I think they're the only two people I put it like that, who know what they're doing. Like, I'm the crazy fucking bigot. You want to see me die. And I'm the crazy incestuous Aunt Mom.
Aunt Mom.
If only I hadn't drank that milk. But you did, Billy. You did drink the milk. All right, Paul. We're waiting with bated breath. What'd you think about the funniest, scariest incest movie ever made?
Flowers in the Attic. Hold Jason's beer. No, look. As I watched this film, I had no idea what I was in for, and I was really uncomfortable watching the first half of this film. Not because of the incestuous stuff, but because I'm like, this is the most homophobic character I've ever seen in a film. Do they know what they're doing here?
Yes.
And I didn't until the end of the film, when finally he gets his cup up, and maybe even the last 20, 30 minutes, you realize they're going for this so hard. This is now not just a side thing. This is not just a character trait. They're making a point here. So I gradually came back around to it. But for a long time there, I was really like, oh my God, what are we watching? No wonder no one's seen this film. No wonder this hasn't gotten out anywhere. But by the end, I realized, okay, this is a very deliberate thing. Do I think the two sides mashed together well? Not at all. Do I think this is a good slasher film? No, it's not. This is a terrible slasher film. It's got a lot of things to say, and it does some of those things very well by the end. But as a slasher movie, except for two things. One, the opening where the car crash happens might be the most over-the-top, extreme example of showing two innocent people plummeting to their deaths.
One
of them gets the Final Destination 2 logged through the head. I might add.
Yeah, that's Final Destination. Definitely borrowed
took it from this
movie.
This for 100% for sure. Yeah. And then the car, she's out. The poor mum's trying to control the car while her husband, her life partner, has probably lost his head, and there's goo right next to her, and she's steering the car all over the place, and she's dodging things left, right, and center, and then it goes over the edge and into this lake, and I'm like, oh wow, what a terrible way to die. Beat, explosion. Then the car's like, holy shit.
That's how you know what you're in for. It's just like picturesque, crazy Aunt Cheryl's like, oh, it's going to be okay, Billy. Have a good trip.
Yeah. And then it goes
crazy death sequence. It zooms in her crazy face. Decapitation, explosion, and you're like, okay, this is a campy, crazy movie.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
And she just gets
probably
crazier and crazier. This is amazing.
And what a decision to make.
She carries it. Yeah.
Yeah, look, she's good. She is good in the film. She's certainly memorable in the film, as opposed to Billy and the girlfriend and the like, and the poor understated coach. And then, Bo Svensson just playing one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen. And that just overrode everything for me, even Susan Tyrrell's performance. And I found that really difficult to kind of reconcile. But now understanding it's deliberate, and now seeing how this is being read, I think in the way that was ultimately intended, though I'm fascinated in the writing process where they decided to really hammer this homophobic cop. Like, okay. Look, and then the thing two other things. One, Bill Paxton is the jock asshole on the team. So, whatever. I thought he was going to meet his end at some point, but didn't, which really surprised me. And then at the very end, we get, after Billy kills the piece of shit homophobic cop, where the jury unanimously acquitted him due to temporary insanity. How about due to justifiable homicide? This man was going to murder someone else. It wasn't insanity. Jesus. Anyway.
But he's in college in Denver.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
We get a TV movie.
He's not. He's not traumatized
No, he's
anymore.
okay.
He's all right.
We get a TV movie ending, which is tacked on at the end, which is really funny. This movie is camp, and because of that, I enjoy it. And this is a revisit for me as well, a rewatch. I watched it for the first time just last year. And I didn't know what to make of it either the first time I watched it. I really didn't like it the first time. This time, knowing what I was getting, what clicked for me more than ever before is like, it's very clear who the killer is. And it's very clear it's not Billy. And this cop cannot see the forest for the trees because he's a bigot.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, well, it has to be some sort of three-way gay a love affair gone wrong. And his own partner is like, what the hell are you talking about? It's the old lady. The old lady. And he's like, shut up, go on vacation. He's like, and he's like, you're blind.
All
He's
this
like,
information. Look, the kid's parents were killed in this thing. You're like, what? You're barking up the wrong tree. I told you to drop it.
Yeah, the brakes were cut. Not only that, like her high school boyfriend went missing and like no one's ever found the body. Like this lady's clearly crazy and he will not get off of it because of his homophobia. And I think that's the movie's point is that's what prejudice does. It blinds you against all reason and you don't even see what's right in front of your fucking face. That this is just a straight kid who's a victim. He's being drugged and abused by this woman. And he's just like, because he thinks he's gay, he's less than human. And it took me the second time to be like, oh, this movie's way more in control of what it's doing narratively, at least on that side of the equation, than the first time. The first time, all I was hearing was the F slur. I was, and I'm like, 1981, low budget. I'm like, this is making me uncomfortable. And this time I'm like, oh no, you know what you're doing. You are pushing it into our face and being like, look how blind and stupid and ignorant and monstrous this viewpoint is.
Exactly.
And he's going to get the worst fucking death. The movie ends with his absolute brutal murder. And
killed too quickly. He should have suffered a lot longer than that. But anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Is it awards time, Megan? Can we do awards?
Let's do awards.
All right. Let's start with our best final girl, Megan. We say final girl, girls in quotation marks, because it's not always female. That's just the popularized term. So who is your best final girl?
Well, my best final girl is a girl. It's Pam in The Prowler.
Yep. I don't disagree. I'm 100% right there with you.
Woohoo!
Pam is the one who stands up and blows the head off the killer in The Prowler. She is tough as nails. There's a moment in The Prowler where she's going to be dumped by the boyfriend while he's going to go and save the day and find out who this is. And they have this uncomfortable fight. And she just sort of stands there like, no, I'm... And then she doesn't walk away. She doesn't go back into the party. She forces her way back into proceedings. And if she hadn't done that, he might well be dead and a lot more people might have been dead. She is as tough as nails as they come. And she is the worthy winner of the Blood Pool's final girl this week.
I agree. Well said.
Pam is incredible, but Pam didn't have to fight off her own incestuous father who was strangling her with a phone cord. The best final girl of the week is Billy from Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. Stabs his own mother. He's like, I killed my mother, my aunt, my aunt, my aunt mom.
You know,
so it's Billy for me. Pam was up there, but I felt like you guys were going to select. So
I had Billy as my final girl, quote unquote, until I saw The Prowler. So so I agree with you. Billy's a good one too, but nope, sorry, Pam wins. But yeah,
I had Pam. I had Pam until I was like, I think Megan and Paul will pick her. I gotta give Billy a shout out. So
nice choice.
It's very interesting what they do with his character. Okay. Let's do slightly out of order. Let's do the best poster / box art, old VHS cover. What do you think is the best of these films from our blood pool? Paul, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think we talked about it as being too much of a spoiler and it ruining the scene in the film, but I think that iconic image of the kebab going towards not Matt Frewer's face, that in itself is a bit of a fake out, is pretty iconic and certainly sticks in my memory. So Happy Birthday to me is my choice.
Megan?
That is a great choice, and I do think it's the most striking of the posters, but my pick is, again, The Prowler. I love that black and white gothic look of kind of the haunted house vibe. So, yeah, I really like that poster.
Okay.
I'm picking Butcher Baker
Oh my
Nightmare
God.
Maker. What? Not Night Warnings. Not Night Warnings. It is a nude Billy with like a knife coming up. Almost looks like a triangle. It's right under his throat.
Yeah, I'm
There's
looking at it. Yep.
Crazy eye of his aunt mother. And then behind him is Julia Duffy. But if you really look at the face is also menacing, and there's details of Susan Terrell's face and his girlfriend behind him. It's sexual, it's weird, it's psychological, it's provocative, it has a knife and a reflection. It's classic slasher stuff. I love it. The Night Warnings poster sucks.
Is that the first time we haven't agreed? We've got a completely different answer for the first time so far, I think, in slasher podcast history. Well, there you are.
Okay, let's go cult classic. What's the movie that you think is desperately underseen, but you really enjoyed, or however the fuck you want to define it?
So I had such a hard time. I literally was going back and forth up until like 3 minutes ago because I have two. And I think it's got to come down to not only what I enjoyed, but what I think is culturally important, and that's going to be Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker.
I can tell what Jason's choice is going to be.
No, but I won't reveal mine yet, but I'm right there with you. It honestly could be just about any of these, except for maybe one. I was just sort of like, I can make a case for any of them. So yes. This was tough. Paul?
Look, again, I've really struggled with this one. I'm probably going to go with the fact that it's so underseen and so few people talk about it. I'm going to go with The Prowler.
Yes.
Because
Let's go.
Nice.
I wish more people would have seen this film, and I wish I had been educated before this point in my life. So if you are listening to this and we have completely spoiled the film, but if you're interested at all, absolutely check out the spoiler. It is worthy of your time.
Yeah.
Spoiler? The Prowler.
The Prowler. Megan, if you were here, I'd give you a consensual hug if you were consenting.
I'd consent.
Because I'm also going with Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker.
Woohoo!
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's so camp. It's drag. It's oh my goodness. It is if it's bad David Lynch meets John Waters meets a slasher movie. It is so weird. When she's got him all doped up in the bed and she's got the milk and she's like, drink it. It's fucking creepy and funny. And when the lady's like, it's raining, can I call my husband? She's like, there's an umbrella in the closet. I suggest you use it and leave. And then she's like, really? The way she just vacillates between talking like this, I'm gonna kill you, Billy. I'm gonna kill you, you little bastard. Then to being like, you're my, I love you, Billy. I'm your mommy. Ooh, we're gonna be together forever. Like, it's so fucking strange. And she's giving it,
she's giving it her all.
Not holding back. She's not holding back. And I love her for that.
I hear what you got. I knew that was your choice, Jason. Good. I'm glad, Megan, that you and Jason have aligned finally. And the start eventually to fall into place. But one other thing about it, which did annoy me again when we were talking about this on a slasher podcast, is how many times does she fake want to kill Julia in that film? That got really started to annoy me.
That's fair.
It's like, come on, you killed everyone else straight away. This little.
Well, she beats her in the head about four different times.
Yeah, and then with a rock at some point. I'm like, okay, now she's definitely dead. Nope. This film is a downer ending. No, she's alive, and they went off to college.
Julia Duffy's just one tough cookie. That's all we can say.
Apparently.
I mean, in fairness, Aunt Cheryl she's an older lady. She's frail.
She killed everyone else pretty good.
That's true. Okay. Paul, you're chomping at the bit. Best kill.
Yeah, look, this one's pretty tough because I went back and forth between two films, and dear God, Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker better not be your choice in this one, Jason. Given some of the other, what we've got on offer here from some pretty impressive practical kills. I'm going to go with the one we've talked about a lot today, although if we were talking about a moment or a scene in a film, it would have to be the burning and killing 6 kids in, like, 30 seconds of screen time. That
Yes.
was if we're talking about a kill, though, I'm going with the shower scene in the Prowler with the pitchfork into the stomach, lifting her off
Yes.
the ground, and it's completely exposed. It's so, I mean, you can't see that, obviously, listener at home, but Megan just squirmed me even describing it. So that's how effective it is.
That is a good one.
All right, Megan.
Well, I did pick the raft scene in the burning.
Fair enough.
But if I have to pick it, if I have to narrow it down to one, I mean, it's not. See, because I was going to say this isn't technically a kill, but when he chops Fisher Stevens' fingers off, like, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I think here's the thing. I think the raft scene is fair because they all die.
okay,
at pretty
good.
much the
Okay,
same
because
time.
for me, it's
It's a mass
for me,
killing.
it's the raft scene. That is
Fair
so visceral and so intense and just rapid.
Well, it's hard to go past that then because you're 6 for the price of one.
Yeah. No, but the shower.
This isn't
I know, right?
quantity,
But the
Paul.
shower Prowler one is a great kill. It really is. It's a good choice.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
agree.
disturbing.
Oh no, yeah. I was
Yes.
I was thinking the other shower, but yeah, no, that shower. Yes, that one. Oh, terrible.
We're splitting again because I am going to choose not Butcher Baker Nightmare.
Oh,
I'm going to choose the Prowler,
nice.
but it is the death of the Prowler himself. It's when she gets the shotgun, Pam, right? Pam gets the shotgun and blows his head off. I think
impressive.
that, again, just an incredible headshot. I gave it to the Maniac for that same reason.
Maniac, yep.
It's even better here. Dog food and all. It is one of the great headshots. This is one of the great head explosions in film history, and an underrated one because everyone's like, well, Scanners. This looks just as good, if not better, than Scanners, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
It kind of like we have the tension with them jockeying for the gun, but every time I always forget the exact moment it's going to go off, and it catches me by surprise every time. I'm like, Jesus. I know it's coming, and it's the first time I didn't know his head was going to get blown off. Because here's the thing. Slasher killers very rarely definitively die.
That's true.
That fucker is dead. He is dead and cannot come
No
back.
sequels.
Apart from its box office, there's a reason why there's never been the Prowler 2.
So I got to give it up to Tom Savini again with another head explosion.
Good choice.
Okay, this leaves us with our best flick of the week. We're going to grade it out of 5 potential sharp objects. Megan, what's the best of the second part of 1981?
For me, the best is The Burning, which I will give 3.5 sharp objects.
Look, I think today's discussion, I've upped a whole bunch of my grades from what I initially scored them as, so I'm going to have to retrospectively go back and make sure that I've accurately quantified these things on Letterboxd, but I'm going to go by the edge of a bayonet. I'm going to give it to the Prowler over The Burning, and I'm going to give it 4 sharp objects out of 5.
With 4 out of 5 sharp objects, I am in agreement with Paul. The best movie this week is The Prowler. It was a toss-up between The Prowler and The Burning, though.
Yep.
Tough choice.
Okay, Megan, where can the fine folks at home find us if this is their first time listening to The Slashers?
You can find us on Letterboxd or The Slashers, and you can follow us on Instagram, The Slashers Podcast.
We are going to go off into 1982. It's going to be another 2-parter here, folks.
It is.
Tentatively, if we can find all of these, because we're going into some deep cut territory, our preferred blood pool will be January's Island of Blood, March's The New York Ripper, April's this one I know, Silent Rage, May's Death Screams,
Chuck Norris movie?
May's Visiting Hours, and May's Midnight. How many of these things came out just in May alone? Now we're in the thick of it. Now the studios are getting involved. It's shenanigans. So that's what's next in our blood pool in 1982 part 1. So that's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if, Megan, have you ever seen a Chuck Norris movie?
I have not.
It is a Chuck Norris
I have
movie. Okay, I thought I
not.
was joking, but okay, great.
I guess there's only one thing left to say.
We'll catch you later.